It's widely regarded that there are 7 fundamental movement patterns when it comes to exercising the body. So this third workout focuses on the hinge. Hi everyone, and welcome to Exercise for Health. And this video is part of a mini series of 10-minute workouts where each one places an emphasis on a movement pattern. This one will be performing exercises that fall under the banner of the hinge, which is anything that causes a bend in the hips. This can be done as a workout on its own, or you could use it as part of an exercise program for the muscles that act upon the hips. To take part, you will just need a bit of space to exercise in, the option of a hand weight for added intensity, and you may need a comfortable mat to lie down on for the final floor exercise. As always, not all exercises will be appropriate for everyone. Therefore, if you're unsure, check with your healthcare professional first, or if any of them cause you pain, then just avoid it. So get yourself ready and let's go. Right then, we're going to do 6 sets of the hinge exercise, 1 minute for each one, and we're going to have 40 seconds rest between each exercise. So the first one we're going to do is the good old deadlift. So for this one, you can just use 1 hand weight or you can use 2. If you're using 1 hand weight, you're just going to hold the weight between both hands this way, but I'm going to be using 2. So we're going to start off with your feet are shoulder width wide. And the first part of the movement is to get that hip hinge. So we're just trying to focus on pushing the bottom backwards, keeping a slight bend in the knee, and also keeping a neutral spine. When you feel the stretch on the back of the legs, at that point you can then bend the knees a little bit more, lowering yourself down to the ground, and then come back up to standing. Off we go. So pushing the bottom back, feel the stretch on the back of the legs, bend the knees, lower down as far as you can, and then begin to straighten the knees and then drive the hips forwards at the top. So again, because we're doing for 1 minute, nice, slow and controlled. Doesn't really matter how many of these we end up doing. There'll probably be somewhere between 10 and 12 in a minute. And just make sure that you're keeping the head and the chest up. So looking forwards, we're not actually looking up, looking forwards towards the floor as you go through the movement. We're halfway through. So really make sure you get that hip hinge first before you start to bend the knees. And then drive the hips forwards at the top. Good. Make sure we're keeping the shoulders down and back. So it does work a lot of the muscles in the upper body as well with the deadlift. So we're trying to keep those shoulder blades down and back. So you'll feel some activation in the lats on the side of the back. Good, last couple of seconds. Good, okay, right. For the next one, you only need 1 hand weight. We're gonna be doing a kettlebell swing, but obviously for this, we're gonna be using the dumbbell. So for this one, you're gonna have your feet a bit wider than the shoulders width. Holding the weight in 1 hand. The movement again is hip hinge. This other hand's going to be used as a counterbalance to go back behind me. As I swing the weight between the legs, I'm going to then drive the hips forwards. And what that does is that will then lift the weight up in front. But I'm not using my arms to lift the weight, so it's not this movement. It's basically all coming from the hip hinge movement as I drive the hips forwards. We're going to do 30 seconds in 1 hand and then we'll switch hands. Off you go. So really focus on getting that drive of the hips to push forwards. It's quite a dynamic movement, this one. And then with the opposite hand that doesn't have the weight in it, just let that go up behind you as a counterbalance. So the knees should bend a little bit, but most of the movement is coming from pushing the hips back. Good. Right, that's halfway, so let's switch the weight over into the opposite hand. Do the same movement. Good, again, you'll feel that in the muscles on the back of the legs. And you might feel it on the inside of the legs a little bit as well, as we've got the feet a bit wider. So make sure all the movement is coming from the hip movement. You're not trying to lift the weight with your arms. Good, okay. Right then, for the next one, you're gonna go back to both hand weights again, or if you just wanna use 1, you can just use 1 again. So we're gonna do a single leg RDL, or Romanian deadlift. But this one, rather than trying to do it on 1 leg, we're gonna do it with a kickstand. So if I'm gonna do it on my left leg, I'm just gonna put the toes of my right foot behind me, keep a slight bend in that knee of the support leg, so 95% of your weight should be on that front leg, and then I'm gonna do that hip hinge as far as you can until you feel stretch on the back of the leg, and then drive the hip forwards. Make sure you're thinking about pushing this knee of the support leg, like trying to rotate it outwards. Ready? Off you go. So push that bottom right back and then drive forwards. Push it back as far as you can. Watch this knee, make sure it doesn't come inwards, so pushing it outwards. And then you'll feel that will help you then recruit the muscles around the side of the hip as you're going through that movement. Good. Again, keep the weights relatively close to you as you're going down. So a little bit like the standard deadlift, except we're not dropping down, we're just getting that hip hinge movement. So we're going to do 1 minute on this leg, and then we'll switch over for the second one. We'll do the opposite side. Should be feeling that on the back of the leg though. As you go down, keep focusing on this front knee. Make sure it doesn't twist inwards. If anything, twist it outwards, like trying to screw your feet into the floor. Last couple of seconds. Good, okay. Should have felt that on the back of the legs and into the butt. So we're going to do the same exercise, but this time on the opposite foot. So remember, 95% of your weight should be on this front foot. Just keep the toes of the other foot just slightly offset behind you. Slight bend in this support leg knee. Keep the weights to the side of the body, shoulders down and back. And then remember to get that hip hinge movement as we go down. Right, so we're going to do another minute on this leg. We've got another 10 seconds, so get yourself ready. Okay, set yourself up. And off we go. So push that bottom back as far as you can and then drive it back up. Now as I'm doing this, I'm feeling my hip on this leg is significantly weaker because I can feel a lot of shaking going on around this hip. So I'm having to focus much more on trying to keep this knee stable, trying to keep it outwards. You might see it shaking a little bit. So it's definitely a lot weaker on this side. Good, we're halfway through. So make sure you're keeping most of the weight on the front leg. The back leg is really just used for balance purposes, so you shouldn't really have any weight on it. Good. Slow and controlled. Push that bottom right back and then bring it up forwards again. Just looking at the floor down in front of you as you lower. Last couple of seconds. Good, okay, right, for the next one, you're not going to need any hand weight. We're going to do a good morning. Now this is similar to a Romanian deadlift, but the difference with this is, and this is why we're not going to use any weight, we're going to have our hands just on the back of the head here. So I'm going to have my feet a shoulder width wide, put a slight bend in both knees, and then from there I'm going to do the hip hinge movement as I lower the body down towards the floor, feel the stretch on the back of the legs, and then come back up to standing again. So there is a little bit more emphasis on the hamstrings for this one rather than the glutes, but we're just keeping the hands here. If you struggle with your shoulders, you can bring your hands here or here, wherever you feel comfortable. Ready? Off you go. So push that bottom right back and then drive the hips forwards. So again, I'm looking forwards, down in front of me as I do that hip hinge. Keeping that slight bend in the knees. And it's that bottom point where you should feel the stretch on the hamstrings here, and then drive your hips forwards back up to standing. We can also work the posterior chain of the back as well by trying to keep the elbows back. So rather than relaxing them forwards, we can force the elbows back, squeezing the shoulder blades together, and that will just activate the muscles on the upper back as well at the same time. Good, keep breathing with it. Slow and steady, feel the stretch, and then come back up to standing. Last 10 seconds. Good, well done. Okay, we've got one left, and that is the glute bridge. So this is where, because we're going to go down to the floor, use your mat if you've got one. And also we're going to use 1 or 2 hand weights because we're going to rest those on the hips. So you're going to have your feet a shoulder width wide on the floor. Keep the heels of the feet close to the bottom. If you've got the weights, just rest them onto the front of your hips And then the movement from there then is I'm going to press the lower back down into the floor, drive through the feet to lift the hips up as high as you can, and then lower back down. Ready? Off you go. So drive the hips up as high as you can. This is really going to focus most of the work into the glutes now. Around your bottom. Get the hips up as high as you can. So get this tilt of the pelvis first, which means pressing the lower back down into the floor before you raise the hips up. Good, squeeze at the top. Make sure the knees are staying the same width as your feet and your hips, so they don't come inwards. Good. Should be feeling that around your bottom by now. Keep it going, last 10 seconds. See if we can get a couple more reps in. Good, well done. Right, pop the weights to one side. And that is your workout completed. Well done. I hope you enjoyed this hinge workout today. If so, please give this video a like by clicking the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Look out for the fourth workout in this series next week, but I will put them all together in our workout playlist, which you'll find a link to in the description below. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay active and keep moving to feel better.